solo developer in Hanoi, Vietnam, builds a game in just 3 days. The graphics look like they were drawn on a napkin. The gameplay is one mechanic: tap to flap. There is no story, no multiplayer, no progression system, no marketing budget, $0 spent on user acquisition. And this game, Flappy Bird, starts generating $50,000 a day in ad revenue. $50,000 a day from a game that looks like a 1985 Nintendo reject. And then, at the absolute peak of its success, the creator takes it off the App Store and walks away. This is not a business case. This is a crime scene. Hello, I'm Todd Hagopian, the original Stagnation Assassin. Today, we're opening the vault on Flappy Bird, the 2013 phenomenon that generated $50,000 a day, topped every app chart on Earth, and then completely vanished. And we're going to see if it was a strategic slaughter or a stagnation suicide. This is one of the strangest autopsies that I've ever performed, so buckle up. The stagnation score, the pre-Flappy Bird mobile gaming industry, stagnation score 5 out of 10. The mobile gaming space in 2013 was kind of a paradox. On one hand, it was exploding, billions in revenue, millions of titles, but on the other hand, it was drowning in complexity cancer. Every major studio was building bigger, more complex, more expensive games. You had the Clash of Clans and Candy Crush and games with 200-person development teams and $50 million ad budgets and monetization schemes designed by PhD behavioral psychologists. The industry had convinced itself that success required complexity. That was the sacred cow, and Doug Nguyen, probably without even knowing it, was about to slaughter it. The tactical audit, Flappy Bird, is probably the most pure accidental execution of the 80-20 matrix I've ever seen. Dong Nguyen stripped gaming down to its absolute vital few: one mechanic, one input, one objective, and he eliminated everything: storyline, character development levels, social features, in app purchases, progression systems. He took the 80% of features that gaming studios were spending millions on, and he threw them right in the trash. So what was left? The 20% that actually matters: addictive, skill based gameplay, and instant feedback. Now, the 70% rule: Flappy Bird wasn't 70% ready, it was maybe 30% ready by any professional standard. The collision detection was questionable, the graphics were borrowed aesthetic, the game had no polish, but it shipped. While Electronic Arts was spending 18 months focus testing a mobile title, when built, launched, and iterated in less time than most studios spend on a design document. And here's the orthodoxy smashing element: the entire mobile gaming industry had built an orthodoxy around monetization first design. Build the addiction loop, insert the paywall, extract the revenue. Flappy Bird had one revenue stream: simple banner ads. No in app purchases, no loot boxes, no energy timers. It violated every best practice in mobile gaming, and it made more money per day than most games make in their lifetime. But here's the hindsight homicide. Now, this hindsight homicide, and this is where the case gets a little tragic. Dong Nguyen removed Flappy Bird from the App Store in February 2014 at its peak popularity. He cited quote unquote personal reasons: the fame, the pressure, the guilt over the addiction. That's a deeply human decision, and I do respect the man. But from a stagnation assassin perspective, this is one of the greatest value destructions in indie business history. Win was sitting on a platform that could have been leveraged into a gaming studio, a brand, an IP portfolio, a media company, a whole 80-20 video game system. He had something that King Digital, the makers of Candy Crush, turned into a $5.9 billion acquisition. He had distribution that companies spend decades trying to build, and he walked away. The fatal flaw was not the product, it was in the founder's infrastructure. Nguyen had no team, he had no advisors, he had no structure to handle the success at this scale. He was a solo operator who accidentally built a rocket ship and he did not have a flight plan. He could not stabilize his personal situation. He could not standardize the operations around his success, and therefore he could never scale. And without these actions, even $50,000 a day becomes completely unsustainable. So the verdict here, I'm giving Flappy Bird only 2 out of 5 kills. The product itself was accidental genius, a minimalist masterpiece that exposed the bloated complexity of an entire industry. And that is worth celebrating. But the business itself was a catastrophic failure. No infrastructure, no scaling plan, no succession, no sustainability. You have to plan for success. You don't get kills for catching lightning in a bottle. You get kills for building the bottle factory. Flappy Bird is the most profitable failure in mobile gaming history. And that's the saddest sentence I've ever said on this podcast. In closing, that's the autopsy. Brilliance without infrastructure is just beautiful disaster. If you want to make sure your lightning strike turns into a lightning factory, head to tatagopian.com, grab the unfair advantage on Amazon, and visit stagnationassassins.com for the world's largest stagnation database. And always remember, continue to declare war on stagnation with me here every single week.